A 14-year-old girl develops a crush on a 28-year-old man. How will this end? Let's see what she's capable of at 14 in today's drama thriller, The Crush. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie with relaxed recaps. The scene opens with a 28-year-old handsome man, Nick Elliott, moving into a new city. He's looking to rent an apartment and visits several places for inspection. He doesn't like any of the rooms in the city, so he tries to find a place in a suburb. While he was driving, he comes close to hitting a beautiful 14-year-old girl, Adrienne Foster, but the car luckily stops in time. Then Nick meets a house owner, Liv, and asks to inspect their guest house. He really likes a place that's quiet, and Liv says that's perfect. She and her husband, Cliff, are mostly at work, so it's mostly peaceful here. Nick likes the guest house at first glance and says he'll take it. He also finds out that the Adrienne he saw on the road is Liv's daughter. Nick moves into the apartment and Adrienne is already spying on him. She tells her friend Cheyenne to check out Nick and she goes and introduces herself. Cheyenne immediately leaves after the introduction and Nick sees that Adrienne is also checking him out, but he brushes it off as they're just kids. The next day, Nick goes to his first day on the job and meets a colleague, Amy. He actually got hired as a researcher in Peak magazine, and his boss asks him what he knows about Robert Levansky. Nick replies that Robert just got out of jail with embezzlement of $2 billion, and he refuses to talk to the press. The boss tells Nick to dig up everything he can about Robert Levansky and asks Amy to supervise him. Later, Nick is cleaning his washed-up car, and Adrienne starts a small talk with him. She reveals that she's into horse riding, and she's the youngest one in her class to get into horse riding. Now, Nick gets into contact with a man who used to work as a chauffeur for the Levansky family and asks him a couple of questions. Then at night, he scours the internet for relevant information. Adrienne visits him and asks what he's working on. He reluctantly tells her that he needs to research everything about Robert Levansky and submit a written document. Adrienne visits Nick again in the morning, but he's taking a shower. She sees a childhood photo of him and asks about it. Nick says it's his only photo of his grandfather. She wants to keep the photo, but he refuses. Then she stalks Nick as he's changing and gives him a gift. He thanks her and leaves for work. There, he finds that the article he submitted is slightly different from the one he wrote. Turns out, Adrienne edited the article for him, and the boss is really happy with the article. Seems like Adrienne knows her grammar. At night, Nick goes to the party hosted by Liv and Cliff. There, he hears someone playing the piano, and it's none other than Adrienne. Everyone appreciates her, and Nick goes to talk to her. He finds out that she snuck into his room and edited his article. Since the boss was happy with the article, she requests him to take her out for a ride. She takes him to a lighthouse and shows him the beautiful view. She says it's really hard for her to make friends, so she wants Nick to become her friend. Nick agrees, and she suddenly kisses him. Nick finds it inappropriate to kiss a 14-year-old girl, so they immediately return home. The following morning, Adrienne starts seducing Nick by sunbathing outside his room. Now, Amy comes to visit Nick, so Adrienne gets jealous of seeing him with another girl. Later during their barbecue party, their boss Michael visits them and gives Nick good news. Robert Levansky wants to speak with Nick, as he probably liked something in the article. Everyone is happy for Nick, and Amy goes to pick some sticks for marshmallows. There, she gets surprised by Adrienne, who tells her about wasps. Unlike bees, wasps can attack for no reason, so the two slowly leave from there. Later, Amy tells Nick to play the adult as Adrienne gives her creepy vibes, but Nick says he obviously knows that and brushes it off. Now, Nick can't find the photo on his table, the one with his grandfather, so he calls Adrienne if she took it, but she says no. He gets impatient and goes to her house. He calls for Cliff, but no one answers, so he goes inside and starts looking for the photo. He goes to Adrienne's room, but she's in the bathroom. He hears her coming there, so he hides in the closet. Adrienne notices that Nick is in the closet, but pretends that she didn't see him and starts to take off her clothes. She smirks while looking at the closet and then goes to take a shower. Nick instantly gets out and runs outside, but meets Cliff at the door. He lies that he was there to return a book to Adrienne. Cliff believes him and asks for his help with things. He helps him take things upstairs, and Nick is surprised to see an entire swing in there. Cliff explains that he had built it for Adrienne, but she was never fond of it. And now she has gotten young, so he's worried that some creepy guy will come banging on the door. Amid their conversation, Adrienne comes there and Cliff asks which book she loaned Nick. Luckily, she realizes the situation and plays along. Later, Adrian is on the swing and Nick comes to talk to her. He says he really likes her, but only as a friend, and due to their age difference, she shouldn't set unrealistic expectations. But Adrian blackmails him about their kiss at the lighthouse and asks if he's ever done a virgin. This makes him furious and he scolds her for even talking about it. Now he meets Amy and says he has a surprise for her. He's modified his old car, but Amy tells him that there's something written on the bonnet. Nick suspects that Adrian is behind this, so he goes to talk to her parents. But since he has no proof, Adrian denies doing anything like that. Nick tries to cover up the scratches with tape, but Cheyenne comes there and says they need to talk about Adrian. She asks him to meet her in the back of the orchard at 7. However, Adrian sees them from her window. At their horse riding practice, Adrian asks Cheyenne to get dressed as she'll get her horse and saddle ready. Then, during their practice run, Cheyenne's tack falls apart and she suffers a serious injury. She realizes what Adrian has done, but her coach and friends take her to the hospital. Now, Adrian meets Nick at the orchard at 7. He's surprised to see her instead of Cheyenne and asks where she is. She reveals that Cheyenne got injured today at the practice. After a while, Michael asks Nick about his conversation with Robert Levansky, and he says the printouts will be here any minute. A colleague comes there and informs Nick that the printouts are completely blank. He tells Michael that he has plenty of copies at home, so he just needs to get back there. However, when he gets back, he finds there are no files on his PC or hard disk. He calls Amy and tells her that all his interviews, articles, and cassettes, everything are gone. Adrian ruined the greatest work of his career. He requests Amy to cover for him in front of Michael while he rewrites the whole thing, and as soon as he's done, he'll find a new place. Then, Nick notices a hidden compartment on his floor. He opens it and finds candles in front of his photos in name. It appears that Adrian was literally worshipping him. He gets out and bolts down the compartment in frustration. When he swiftly starts writing the article again, Adrian calls him, but he doesn't pick up. She gives him hundreds of missed calls while he's busy writing the article. Soon enough, he returns to the office and delivers the entire material. After the office, he goes to inspect a place and tells the landlord that he'll be moving in by this week. He gets busy packing all his stuff, and Amy comes to help him. The two end up getting intimate and sleeping together that night, while Adrian is burning with jealousy in her room. At midnight, Nick feels Adrian is standing next to him, but when he wakes up, no one is there. The next morning, Amy is leaving and Adrian starts an argument with her. Amy insults her and leaves, but she makes up her mind of taking revenge. Later, Amy goes to her studio to work on some photos. Adrian closes the door from the outside and releases wasps inside the place through the vent. Thousands of wasps attack her and she falls unconscious. On the other hand, Nick goes to talk to her new landlord, but she doesn't open the door. She says she does not rent to drug dealers and shuts the door on him. Looks like Adrian failed yet another of his plans. Nick sadly returns home and finds several cops in front of his house. One cop asks if he's Nick Elliott, and when he says yes, they handcuff him. The cop says that he's under arrest for the sexual assault of a minor. Adrian comes out of the house with her parents comforting her, and Cliff jumps on Nick to hit him. Adrian gives yet another smirk before getting in the car. Then, the investigators ask Liv and Adrian to tell the entire story, and she gives an Oscar-level performance. She says they just went swimming, and Nick thought of it as a hint, and when she refused to do it with him, he hit her and assaulted her. Meanwhile, Nick explains to the detectives that Adrian is the one who kept chasing him from the start. The detective tells him that they found semen inside her, so Nick gets locked up in the jail. Michael and a colleague try to help Nick, but the semen matches Nick's blood type. Nick explains that she probably snuck outside and used his condom from the trash. Michael asks Nick to take away all his possessions and go away as Adrian is not within 100 meters of the house. He does exactly that and goes to take his things. Cheyenne comes there and says that this is all Adrian's plan, and Adrian knows a lot about wasps too. Nick understands everything and thanks Cheyenne for telling the truth. Now, Cheyenne tries to go inside the house to find Adrian's diary so she can prove Nick innocent. But Nick sees the door open and goes to stop her as this might make things even worse. He goes upstairs and again finds his photos surrounded by candles. To his surprise, Adrian is also there as she fooled her parents to come here. Nick ignores Adrian and starts looking for Cheyenne, so she hits him with a stick. Meanwhile, Cliff also gets there and tries to open the door. Nick runs to save Cheyenne and finds her tied to a horse. He tries to free her, but Adrian attacks him again. This time, he overpowers her and gets on top of her. But Cliff enters the room at the wrong time and starts beating Nick. Surprisingly, Adrian hits her own father to save Nick. Nick finally gives Adrian the punch she deserves, and the scene ends there. In the aftermath of the incident, Adrian is admitted to a mental institution, but even there, she's developed a crush on her therapist, whereas Nick lives with Amy now and still receives stupid letters from Adrian. That was it for today, guys. Subscribe to Relaxed Recaps for more content like this. Until next time.